Good day to you, folks. This is Angelo again, coming to you from Las Vegas. We're going to touch up a little bit on the world politics since we finished the program of the local program about our education here in Las Vegas, which is our primary concern. Although we thought we have something to say today or bring to you today in the world affairs that is happening, and also some political quarreling between the two supposedly allies, United States and Turkey. As you are familiar, or you are maybe familiar, for the last over 70 years, Turkey has been an ally of United States, a staunch ally of United States, and a solid ally of United States during the communist era in Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact. Turkey was always on the front line, and it was considered as, in case of the major war, and first one to take the casualty and protect the West. And I never doubted, neither I would have doubted till today, till now, till this Syrian crisis have happened, a civil war in Syria. I cannot understand, honestly, I cannot understand how and why we take order to treat our friends and our allies this way, as we are treating Turkey as a foster child. Okay, I can understand that Israel has their own agenda and their own needs politically, strategically, geographically, and economically, and militarily. But I cannot understand how, why. Let me see if I can fix myself in a little more comfortable position. I cannot understand why that we, the United States, the United States don't understand importance of Turkey, especially in today's world. Forget the 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or communist era, before the fall of the Berlin Wall and breakup of the Soviet Union. I have said before and I have said now, when the Soviet Union and the United States were two acting superpower in the world was safer, and you can go to sleep and you know you're going to wake up tomorrow morning without headache. Today, folks, if you don't understand that that is not the case, today your world is not safe. And if you don't understand that, then I'm wasting my time. Although I will still proceed and I will not give up to deliver this message to you folks, that we are abusing Turkey and we are losing the friend. And that's a filthy Tel Aviv politic and Jerusalem politic and Bibi Netanyahu. How can we not agree with Turkey to have a safe zone to protect her border? And she have taken over 3 million almost 4 million Syrian refugees inside. And we are still treating her as a foster child. And we still want her to collapse. Because Israel wants Turkey to collapse. Let me just remind you, folks, and Israeli people especially, during the World War II and during the World War I, there were only 3 countries on the planet that had accepted you people, Jewish faith people. And that's Albania, and that's Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that's Turkey. Nobody else has accepted Jewish people during the massacre, when the white freckle faces in Europe were exterminating Jewish people. So next time APEC meetings or Michael Pinks or Donald Trump or Bibi Netanyahu telling you folks that the Turkey or a Muslim people are enemy of yours, you tell them they're freaking lying to you. Because I said so. They are lying to you. Muslim people are not enemy of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith. In fact, Muslim people have been friends and allies with the Jewish people since the beginning of the year 1, and since the beginning of Crusade, and since the beginning death of Christ. The only place that the Jewish people have found salvation was in a Muslim world. And 400 years after that of Christ, when the Islam was introduced, even stronger. The Jewish people were finding salvation even stronger, even better, in places where the Islam was introduced through the Middle East or Europe. It wasn't in Spain, the Jewish people that find the salvation. No, they were kicked out and killed and oppressed. England, Italy, Portugal, Germany, Poland, Switzerland, Russia, every single country in Europe, Ukraine, you name it. Where they have found the salvations, it was through the Caucasus, which is all the Muslim world. I mean, every single country in the world, Muslim world, the Jewish people have found the salvation and a safe place, safe haven. And I will ask these political people and these lobbyists in Washington, the Jewish lobbyists in Washington and APEC, when you talk about prejudice, I think you are overdoing it. And when you talk about the friends, who's the friends of the Jewish people? You are crossing the bridge on the other side, and you making the enemy, you are telling people that enemy who was killing you yesterday, or who mean you no well even today, the Ku Klux Klans, the white extremists, the neo-Nazis, the fascists, you name it. APEC, you're doing a big harm to the Jewish people and Jewish community, not just here. You're doing it around the world. Turkey is not enemy of Israel, and Turkey is not the enemy of the United States, and I am not Turkish. I'm just talking a common sense. Your politics is filthy and dirty, and it's been filthy and dirty for the last 60 years. And you have done a big damage and disservice to this country, United States of America, and the Jewish community, and also to Israel, because you have led Israel to think as you do, and you think that you are strong enough, God forbid, to save Israel from destruction. And you are the one who are time-ticking bomb that will destroy Israel as a state. You're filthy politic, because you are doing everything to make enemies for Israel. Every time I hear you having organizations or having some kind of meeting in Washington or New York or Chicago or wherever you go, and paying all these politicians to come in so you can cash them out and fill up their purses so they can hear you speaking. Forget the freaking United States, forget everybody. We are for Israel and we are crusading for Israel. Hallelujah. When you pay people to talk on your behalf, they are not your friends. Okay? Again, AIPAC, you are making a big political mistake, strategical mistakes, and you are harming Israel with your filthy politics. And I will ask every one of you to help U.S. government to reestablish good relation to Turkey, because Turkey is strategically, geographically located to be a good and helpful ally in any crisis to United States of America, to our country. I don't understand. Our military people have been brainwashed. If they really think that Israel is capable to save United States from crisis, then I think we are in trouble. And I don't care how many nuclear bombs Israel has. And I don't care how many aeroplanes Israel has and tanks. Israel is not strong enough and will never be to dominate that part of the world. It's a mentality of the people. Israelis and Arabs, they think the same. The superiority. We should help them talk instead shoot on each other. Israel can mobilize 6 million men to fight their war, but there will be nobody home to bring the freaking lunch on that front line. And Israel now cannot nuke the Middle East because it's going to be nuking themselves. And everybody else going to nuke Israel. So everybody going to lose. Now, if you are going on a self-destruct, that's a whole different ballgame. I call that suicide. And Bin Laden. But Israel is supposed to be a civilized nation or educated nation and a democratic, which I disagree wholeheartedly, democratic, but everything else, I agree. As a civilized and educated nation, yes, but democratic, no. Democratic for somebody, but not for everybody. Especially now, as Israel become to be a Jewish nation, and that's it. So democracy is through the window, folks. Okay? When you become an Islamic country or Christian country or a Jewish country or Hindu country like India is going to be, then come on, give me a break. How can you be a democratic nation? Okay? That says it. I'm an Islamic nation, that means all the other religions, they don't matter. I'm a Jewish state, and that's everything else doesn't matter. I'm a Christian state, everybody else don't matter. I just want my country and Turkey to get along because they both can benefit from that. I was reading and watching some programs yesterday and today. Our troops in Syria, in eastern Syria, off of the border of Turkey and Iraq. We are making a big mistake. We are supporting all those freaking killers that Turkey wants to eliminate, and we are stopping them. And we are not allowing Turkey to guard her border, so these people can stop going in and blasting the cars with 1,000 pounds of TNT and stuff like that, and killing Turkish innocent people. And why we are doing that? We, the United States. Why are we doing that? So President Erdogan says that he's going to stop cooperating and he's going to enforce a safe zone himself. I would too. President Erdogan, I support you in that. Go ahead. And nobody has the right to stop you. It would be just like if a Turkish troops were in a border of our troops on a southern border, where drug cartel is pushing drugs and stuff like that, and the Turkey will say it is now stop, let them go through. What kind of business that would be? How did we would react on that? But these are not drugs. These are bombs, cars. They're in pickup trucks. They are filled up with the TNT and going through the Turkish city and blowing up the people to kingdom come. So I think our government in Washington, D.C. should reconsider this, and our generals and the fields should reconsider this. I know they are taught on a West Point, you know what I mean? The only friend that we have in the Middle East is Israel. I think the only friend that we have in the Middle East is Turkey. They never ask for money. They never ask for handout. They never ask for donation. And we never give them $2 or $3 or $4 billion a year donation, okay? Like we do to Israel. And we haven't donated in last 8 years $160 billion like we donate to Israel. Okay? So let's get that thing out of the way, folks. So Israel is a nuisance to United States in that case. We may have research programs with Israel, military research programs, stuff like that. But I think we'd be better off if we cut the military ties with Israel and have him just as a friend and say like this: give them a guarantee, and written guarantee, that we will protect them in case if somebody wants to attack them and dismantle Israel. But Israel shouldn't be a nuclear power, and Israel should not be a military superpower to bully the neighbors and the people around in his neighborhood. And now Israel going to have nuclear rockets that carry nuclear bombs 1,600 miles. That means they can reach Western Europe and Ukraine and Turkey and Iran and all the way down half of India. Do you really think that Western Europe, like Poland and Germany and England and Italy and all these countries, gonna sleep well? I'm asking you people in the United States. And those countries, they killed 6 million Jews during the World War II and World War I. Between those two wars, almost 8 million, okay? And you really think that if those, God forbid, nuclear warheads start flying one way and the other, I will just remind you that Begin, during the Sadat era and a Carter's presidency, he didn't even want to ride in a German freaking Mercedes. If you remember that. If you don't believe me, go on a historical research about Menachem Begin, Israeli prime minister then. He said that he would love to pay the Poland and Germany and Europe, Western Europe, for atrocity that has been done during the World War II. And he won't even look at the freaking Mercedes, ride in Mercedes, or ride in Mercedes. But that was then when Israel really became a nuclear power. And they were confident then enough not to tell people around the world that, okay, we are nuclear power now, then screw you. But in case of the war, they can introduce it. Said to tell people like this, don't screw with me, you know what I mean? I'm a nuclear power, and don't fuck with me. Now, they have a short-range tactical missiles. They can carry nuclear warheads. Now they have a long-range missiles to carry nuclear warheads. I will say this and I will quote. I have said this years ago. People, world, you will regret it. The world would regret it for allowing Israel to become nuclear power and allowing India and Pakistan to become a nuclear power and allowing Brazil and Chile to have very close research for nuclear development, let's say, nuclear bombs. These are countries, they should never have that. If South Africa, during the fall of the White regime in Pretoria, if they are the one to dismantle their nuclear power, nuclear arsenal, then Israel should dismantle, India should dismantle, Pakistan should dismantle, Brazil and Chile. None of these countries should be allowed to have it. If Ukraine dismantled theirs and Kazakhstan, why Israel? Why not Israel? If Germany doesn't have it and they don't wish to have it, why Israel should have it? If for Western Europe, only two countries have it, as we know it, England and UK, UK and France, why Israel should have it? Folks, this is the Pandora box that when you open it, or the devil's gonna come out from it and explode in your face, or a nuclear warhead, one or the other. And both of them will bring the end of the world that me and you know. Political problems in Hong Kong. And a little kids with a milk bottle on their hand, are convincing millions of people, 6 million people in Hong Kong, to riot because the Hong Kong government doesn't have enough jail space to imprison criminals and drug killers and rapists and bank robbers. So they want to send him to China, and they're doing it in a legal way, passing the law, so they can send those criminals in China across the border, where there's enough space to spend their terms in jail. They've been prosecuted for whatever reason. And the Western world, including my country, United States of America, are going on manipulating and inciting the riots and demonstrations, so they can, as our politicians are saying now, that it's good for us to have China in trouble, so they can pay attention more to Hong Kong problems, instead building their economies or becoming stronger economically. You're a bunch of freaking idiots, our politicians. You should think not to make China stronger economically 40 years ago, when you allowed the General Motors and Ford and IBM and Kisco and Walmart and all that stuff to go to China to make the product, instead making it here for our consumption. Okay? You should think that years ago. No. But you are all greedy. Greedy bunch of bastards. When you see the green dollar, and when that flashes in your freaking eyes, you forget the country, you forget the loyalty, you forget your duty, you forget everything. And that's a whole problem when we talk about a freaking Israel. When AIPAC organized their meetings, there are checks written over there, and every single name of those politicians, they go to speak over there. From 30,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 to 500,000. Depends what your position is. And then you go over there and spill your freaking heart, throwing the sand in the people's eyes, ordinary folks like me, throwing sand in their eyes and making them blind and dumb and stupid. The whole world is against Israel, and whole world, and China is against the United States. And we have no friends left in the world. And you know why? Because you have a boogeyman down in the Middle East that creates nothing but trouble, and you have another boogeyman in Washington, D.C., and that's AIPAC, that is paying our politicians, and our politicians are doing what Israel wants and what AIPAC wants. And that is proven through our university, through our military academies and everything. Everybody is enemy but Israel. Well, I don't believe that, folks, okay? I think anybody who doesn't receive our donations are our friends. And that's including Turkey, okay? And anybody who receive our donations to be our friends, they are not our friends. And that includes Israel. We should stop throwing money on that little freaking country, okay? That country has an apartheid system for every other color and race and religion except for the Jewish people. It reminds me of South Africa. If you are a white Africanus, you were okay in the early 80s and 70s and all the way back. Oppressed and apartheid. Let's say oppressed. So when Israel will become open society, an integrated society, country of the people, by the people, and for the people, then I will take my hat off and salute them. And yet, yesterday, folks, kids are demonstrating 10 years old, throwing the rocks or coming on a fence and hanging on a fence and yelling, I want to come back on my forefather home in Israel. An Israeli military IDF is using live ammunition and shooting those kids. And they are not even on their territory. They are in a Gaza camp, which I call that Auschwitz. That is an Auschwitz camp. There is only one thing missing in that Auschwitz camp of Gaza. Those gas showers, they used to gas people. And UN is sending enough fat food to keep people alive. But people are in a no man's land. And those are millions of people with no citizenships and no right. And that's not one day or 1 week or 2 weeks. That's for last 60 years. It's been like that. Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a freaking colony of a British colony. Let me just touch a little bit back on the history. When Britain wants to dominate China, I mean really dominate, they start bringing opium from Siam, Kingdom of Siam. That is Myanmar, Burma, and India, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. They were bringing opium to China during the Queen Victoria period. They drugged up 80% of Chinese people and depleted the country from silver. Then was the currency was the silver in China. They bankrupt the country. The 80% of the people were nothing but drug addicts and was easy to dominate. Then they took to Hong Kong. Chinese had no choice but to sign whatever. Even the little freaking Portugal, that little beautiful country is Portugal, with a couple of ships goes all the way to China and all the way to Africa, to Atlantic coast of Africa, and dominating and running and occupying hundreds of millions of people with a couple of canoes, ships. Well, I'm not saying that's their fault. It's the fault of the people and their leaders, where England want and Portugal want and Holland want and all those countries from Europe, and dominating those people and those lands. Like Macau, Portugal had a Macau and Hong Kong was under the British rule. These kids, they demonstrating today, they don't realize that when Hong Kong was under British rule, the Hong Kong citizens had no say in nothing. They were colonies. They didn't vote for a governor of Hong Kong. It was appointed by the freaking Queen in England. And now the Lady Lam, who's the governor or whatever they call her, who they title now, these kids are going berserk. These young people in Hong Kong. They are not asking their forefathers when they come from China, how all this evolved. And how that become for Hong Kong to be separate ethnically from China. And Taiwan the same way. And Macau the same way. I'm not defending China here, folks, okay? What I'm trying to say that these punks are betraying everything that Chinese people have been fighting for 150 years to free themselves from occupation, from the European powers, from Japanese power, and from American power, and from all the other powers around the world. They have milked China to death. Even today, you have Taiwan claiming that they represent China, and China, mainland China, is claiming they represent Taiwan. I call that three government, one nation. Taiwan, Hong Kong, and mainland China. That's a little bit ridiculous and a little bit corny. Let's say good thing that I'm not the president of China right now. I would invade the freaking Taiwan in a moment. And I would invade the Hong Kong in a moment and screw all these other freaking people around the world, whatever they think. I will unite my country once forever. Let's just say, folks, if Mexico says like this, okay, we're going to support Texas to separate from the United States, how would you feel? Or California? We will invade the freaking Mexico in a second. In a second. And that would be end of the separation to California or Texas. And that would be end of Mexico to ever mess in our internal affairs. In the same way, the rest of the world has a right to protect their own territories. How can we do the damage control? Well, we cannot do it the way we are doing it right now, folks, okay? We have problem in Venezuela, we have a problem in Nicaragua, we have trouble in Bolivia and Peru. We have a problem in Brazil. They're burning everything and the world is doing nothing, standing by and watching it. And we're going to pay for it. All of us going to pay for it. That's a nuclear time bomb ticking. Okay? Myanmar, that beautiful military oppressing ruling country, have oppressed so many people and the world is doing nothing. India is doing so much damage to their own citizens. They are only different that they are ones are Muslims and Buddhists and Catholics, Christians, I mean, and another ones are Hindus. So there are more than 5 or 6 million people right now. They have lost their citizenships. Okay? And India, as I am talking to you, India is building concentration camps so they can put them in the camps. And there is no solution on site for that, folks. You cannot just misplace 7 million people. Maybe they can dig the holes like Germany did during the World War II and massacring millions of people. Like a Nazi Germany did it. I'm not suggesting to India to do that. Although Gandhi was a good friend with Hitler. And now we are glorifying him as one of the guy who brought the freedom. Sudan, Darfur and Sudan. We crusaded for that to separate from Sudan. And you know why? Because that's the rich minerals piece of real estate. And we wanted to make Sudan poor as possible. South Sudan, we want to separate also because it has oil. Has more oil than a God has a hair on his head, or I, or you. We succeeded to separate the South Sudan thanks to Pat Robinson and lobbyist politic again, and I will bring in also AIPAC. And evangelicals. We need to separate South Sudan from the Muslims in Sudan because Muslims are killing them left and right, which that was not true. For 2,000 years, these people have been living together. And for 1,700 years, 1,600 years, they've been living, Muslims and Christians, Orthodox Christians, which they are Sudanese. They've been living together for all those years, and they haven't. If this was the truth, that Muslim was killing them like there's no tomorrow, there will be not a single freaking Christian left in Sudan. By now. So that was a lie then, and that is a lie now. Here what happened to Sudan. Let me brief you a little bit, folks. The day that Sudan was separated from and agreed to become two nations, South Sudan and Sudan, South Sudan become a struggle, political struggle power among the Sudanese, South Sudanese. And now they're killing each other like it's no tomorrow. And there is no Muslims involved in that South Sudan war. There is a South Sudanese killing South Sudanese. Who's going to own the riches of the South Sudan? One group of the illiterate politicians and militants or the other. There is more than 200,000 people killed or 300,000 people killed and more than 1 million displaced from their homes and cities in South Sudan. There is a hunger and a poverty, and then there was not hunger and poverty, folks, which you used to see one group going over there and the newspapers from the Pat Robertson Feed the Children's and also from evangelicals groups, these Catholic organizations groups going over there and are filming 10 people and 5 people and 2 people. Oh, the Muslims are just massacring South Sudanese Christians. I don't see them going now and investing millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars or stopping the South Sudanese from killing each other. Where are you so good Christians going now to save South Sudanese and build them a university and a schools and a elementary and a high school and a children's kindergartens and stuff like that, and a roads and highways and a factories so they can feed themselves and educate themselves? These people are still climbing a freaking trees and a cactuses and picking up the bananas, sitting with no underwears and a banana trees, because they are so degraded in their education. So how about helping them out? If you want to give them independence, how about help them out to give them education? If you were worried about them so much and their well-being, where are you today? Such a good Christian people. You were all crusading for them to free them from Sudanese Muslims. But you were nowhere to find today. And the money from revenue from the oil that is collected, multi-billions of dollars, where are going? Where that money is going? I tell you, okay, let me just tell you. Going to the Swiss banks, British banks, French banks. They are not going in a Sudan, okay? They are not going up in the northern Sudan. So now you got no one to blame. Now you people, politicians in the West, are collecting that freaking money and starving people and killing people. And your hands are bloody up to your shoulder. In Libya, the West started the war, wants to get rid of the Gaddafi to save 10 people from massacre in Tripoli and Benghazi. Give me a freaking break. Now you have billions of the dollars, Libyan money sitting on your freaking bank in Switzerland and England and Italy and everywhere. And Germany and France. And where is that money? Where is that money going? And then you have a Yemen on a war. Yemen, that hundreds of thousands of people are being killed and more than 1 million people are starving. I mean starving. And your hands are bloody. The Western world hands are bloody up to their freaking shoulder. Then in Somalia, there are still no peace. In Kenya, there are no peace. In Rwanda, there is no peace. In Zaire, there is no peace. Ivory Coast, there is no peace. Chad, there is no peace. Liberia, there is no peace. Morocco, Polisarios, there's still no peace. Egypt is killing people left and right. You guys help out Sisi coming over there, instead letting people decide what people want. They elected a guy and you guys overthrow him. And he died in jail. Just because he has a different view of the politic from Israeli politic. Started the war in Syria. Promised the demonstrators that you will arm them and help them out so they can overthrow Hafiz Assad. Why didn't you just send F-16 and just bomb the freaking parliament whenever they are in session? And kill the government, and instead killing the whole country of Syria and destroying the whole country infrastructure of Syria as you guys did. Same thing in Iraq. Same thing in Afghanistan. And now we are on the way to destroy Iran too. Okay, we don't like their politics, but we are the one who helped them come in on a power. Do you guys remember Shah of Iran? And do you guys remember old man Ayatollah Khomeini in France, in Paris, having a microphone on his hand and using cassette tapes to tape his voice and his message to the universities and stuff like that? And you guys, our CIA and British Secret Service and French Secret Service, Italian Secret Service, and you name it, the Western Secret Service, were helping to spread that through so they can destroy Iran as it was. Don't tell me you haven't done it, okay? Because Ayatollah could not do it all by himself. You wanted it cheap oil from Iran, but you didn't want Iran to become a super military power, okay? And Iran had an ambition to become a power. Excuse me. So you created the beast, and now you are ready to nuke them. Well, deal with it, but don't nuke them. Because if you nuke them, the world will not stand by. I think there is too much in stake. And we are paying attention to the wrong country. If we lay off Iran, I think Iranian people, by tradition and by their culture, they will come around and they become full participants as a citizens of the world. That I can assure you. Because that's their culture, that's their tradition, that's their history will guide them in that, from the Cyrus the Great. They always crave for that democracy, for that prestige. And if you let them be, they will do that. And they can deliver. What I would pay attention if I have anything to say, folks, I will pay attention to India and Pakistan and Kashmir right now. The Western world is paying attention to such a small things. If Israel is not involved, then that is not important. I get kind of freaking sick about that. If Israel is not involved in it, then the world politicians find it not important. Oh, this country, United States, doesn't find it important. Let me tutor you people on the politics a little bit. I mean, our politicians. Today or tomorrow or in the near future, we are not in danger that Israel will go in a nuclear war with any of their neighbors. Okay? But today and tomorrow and the near future, we have two nuclear power nations, and one that is a neighbor, that's third, China. India, Pakistan, and China. Let's say if India and Pakistan go on a nuclear war, first in a conventional war, and one will be, and if that war escalates, that one of them will lose their sovereignty from the other, possibilities are really great that they will exchange their nuclear arsenal. You think China will stay out of that? If you do that, then I'm wasting my time, and you are not worthy of my time. And if you think after China get involved, that the United States and Russia will stay on the sideline and watch it, you got to be freaking crazy. That means we will have a nuclear Armageddon, and our world will perish. So I'm not telling you folks that eagle is flying free right now, which it is. I mean the world. And I'm not saying that we're going to lose our wings this moment and we're going to fall down face flat on earth and we will never wake up again and fly. What I'm just saying, the world is free and healthy. Even that we have a lot of these problems that I have mentioned on the background, all of this can be solved. But India and Pakistan are on the verge of nuclear war. I have said that in 1982 and 84. I have said that in a later conversation that I had with the Patrick Moynihan, Senator Patrick Moynihan. Please pay attention to the fire, not who started it. Pay attention to how you're going to extinguish the fire and how you're going to have that hose over there and water and whatever is needed to stop that fire for us spreading. Instead, paying attention to who started it. Pay attention, bring your attention back who started the fire, who's going to start the fire later. Now you must prevent the fire from becoming to be a disaster. And that's between India and Pakistan, and Kashmir is right in the middle. Lebanon is another flashpoint. I can tell you the conventional war between Israeli and Hezbollah right now, or Israel has to go full-scale invasion of Lebanon like it did 20 years ago and bomb the Lebanon to kingdom come, and still will not be able to win the war. The only way to win it, they would have to use a chemical like Assad did in Syria. You know why? Because Hezbollah and the Lebanese army have had a lot of practice in Syria. And they become a superior soldier. And if Israel wants to have a conventional war, even with their tanks, even with their air force, even with their superior military power, Hezbollah gonna give them a big freaking bloody nose. And I think if Israel think to get rid of Hezbollah, it's better be today than tomorrow. The more that you wait, the stronger Hezbollah become. And I'm not favoring Hezbollah. Israel should talk it over to Turkey, Greece, Jordan, Saudis and Gulf countries, and Egypt. and bring them aboard. Not to the soldiers, just politically. I don't want to lose your friendship. I don't want to lose your support. I want you to support me with this so I can go and clean up strategically and surgically clean up southern Lebanon from Hezbollah. And clean up Lebanon from Hezbollah totally. And get their blessing. Get this country's blessing, which I believe 100% they wanted to do that. But in return, Israel should withdraw from 1962 borders to 1962 borders and grant Palestinians independence. And get rid of Hamas, even if they have to have strategical cleanup for Hamas from Gaza. So Israel should do that in Gaza and do it up in Lebanon. This should not be hard to do, and it shouldn't be hard to think and put together. Any fool can do this, even I. And any fool general should think of this as I did. Perhaps I'd be happy to put a plan together. If you want to have a surgical bombing or surgical attack, you shouldn't be freaking going and attacking the cities and towns and destroying the infrastructure and factories and all that. We know what a surgical means. If you had a stone on a kidney, you don't operate, and if you are a surgeon, as a doctor, you don't go and operate in a kidney and also on a heart and also on a freaking liver. You go operate exactly over there where it's supposed to be. In a kidney, you operate inside the kidney. You open the kidney and you remove the stone. Not as we did before. We go in Lebanon, we destroy the freaking Lebanon like it's no tomorrow. And we go in Gaza over there and we destroy the Gaza like it's no tomorrow. We go in Iraq and we go destroy the whole country and we say, oh, we are doing the surgical attack. Surgical attack? 500,000 dead? Are you freaking kidding? You out of your freaking mind? How can you call that surgical? That's an insult on the military. That's an insult on the educated military people. And also on the citizens that you are presenting that. Yemen, the same way. Oh, it's a surgical war. No, we are just practicing throwing the bombs. We want to see how our defense missiles or shields to protect us from the Russian Scuds, former Soviet Scuds missiles. Anybody can shoot a freaking Scud missiles even with a rifle. Just if you point right. They are flying pianos. They've always been a flying pianos. I'm amazed. I'm amazed that people haven't thought of this yet. So to Israel, and I will close with this on Israel, even though I disagree with your politics, Hamas and Hezbollah are your responsibility to get rid of these two groups of people, to free Lebanon and to free Palestinian people. And to do that, for Arabs to allow you to go in southern Lebanon and to establish the full diplomatic relationship with you. After that, you should free Palestinian people to decide their future. That's mean you get rid of Hamas and you pull out to a 1962 border and let Palestinian people live in peace. Or abandon your idea of Jewish state and have confederate state between Palestinians and Israelis. You hold your military, but have two states living on one national border. That wouldn't be a bad idea either. I think both people would benefit. Two governments, one state. On this note, folks, I will end my political editorial and my political opinion. And I will thank you from my heart for sharing your time with me. And please check my previous post of today. It's considering it was strictly for the local, for our Clark County high schools. Schools. We have a big political problem. Nothing but bunch of scammers and bunch of thieves are running our school district, and we need all the help that you can bring in your opinions so you can support in your opinion for us to bring more attention to our school district. Okay, thanks again for being with me. Until I see you next time.